The fall of the Jedi was absolute. The Republic, which had stood for 1,000 generations, was gone, replaced by the iron rule of the Galactic Empire. The Sith now controlled the galaxy, and with them, the dark side reigned supreme. But for the man who had once been Anakin Skywalker, victory was not without cost. Vader was broken. His body, once powerful and agile, was now confined to a suit of heavy restrictive armor. His limbs were cybernetic, his breath was mechanical. The fire of Mustafar destroyed what remained of the Jedi he had been, and in his place, Darth Vader was truly reborn. Yet the pain, both physical and emotional, never truly left him. I recently made a video explaining what Darth Vader's life was like after Revenge of the Sith in canon, but now I want to do the same for the Legends continuity, which obviously is packed with way more lore because it's been around for a lot longer. So let's jump into the expanded universe and learn what Darth Vader was doing between episodes 3 and 4. The rise of the Empire marked the beginning of Vader's new purpose, hunting down and exterminating the remaining Jedi. Though Order 66 had decimated most of them, some had escaped into hiding, hoping to regroup and resist the Sith's reign. Palpatine wasted no time in deploying Vader as his primary enforcer, sending him on missions across the galaxy to wipe out any lingering threats and secure absolute control. The Jedi were scattered, but their presence still echoed in the Force, and Vader could sense them. His first missions took him to worlds that had once been strongholds of the Republic. He led the Imperial advance on Sereno, the homeworld of the late Count Dooku. The noble families that had once aligned with the Confederacy of Independent Systems were given a choice: swear fealty to the Empire or be destroyed. But Vader's true goal was eliminating Dooku's former allies, ensuring that no trace of his old enemy remained. To test their loyalty, Vader forced the ruling houses to execute their own kin, ensuring that only those fully committed to the new order would be allowed to survive. From there, he traveled to Honoghr, a planet devastated by war. The planet's inhabitants, the Nagri, were suffering from the ecological destruction caused by a separatist bioweapon. Vader presented himself as their savior, promising to help restore their world in exchange for loyalty. In truth, the Empire had no intention of healing Honoghr, only ensuring that its people became dependent on Imperial aid. Vader successfully secured the Nagri as elite assassins, warriors who would serve him with unwavering devotion for generations to come. Vader's next campaign was the reconquest of the Rim. With the Republic gone, many Outer Rim worlds resisted Imperial rule, holding on to their independent systems or remnants of separatist control. Vader led the brutal campaigns to bring these territories into submission, deploying overwhelming force against planetary governments and dissidents. He crushed resistance with swift and decisive strikes, ensuring that every rebellious world understood the consequences of defying the Emperor. Meanwhile, the hunt for Jedi was relentless. One of Vader's first major encounter with Jedi survivors came on Murkana, where a group of clone troopers had refused to execute Order 66. These clones, believing that the Jedi had been wrongfully targeted, chose to defy the Empire and protect their former generals. Their rebellion was short-lived. Vader and his forces arrived on Murkana with orders to eliminate all traitors. The clones were executed, making it clear that loyalty to the Old Republic was now an act of treason. Among the Jedi in hiding on Murkana was Roan Shrine and Oli Starstone, who hoped to evade Imperial forces. They eventually took refuge on Kashyyyk, where they aided the Wookiees in resisting the Empire's occupation. It was there, during the brutal Imperial invasion, that Shrine's destiny would finally be sealed. Vader led the assault on the Wookiee homeworld, using the conflict as a cover for his true mission, to eliminate any surviving Jedi. Shrine was unwilling to abandon the fight, and he stood his ground against Vader, engaging him in a desperate duel as the battle raged around them. Although Shrine was a skilled duelist, he had never faced an opponent like Vader. The Sith Lord's strikes were heavy and relentless, his power in the Force overwhelming. Shrine managed to land glancing blows against Vader's armor, but they barely slowed him. Vader was relentless, and with every swing of his blade, he drove Shrine further into desperation. Shrine fought with the skill of a veteran Jedi, but Vader had grown even stronger in the dark side. In the end, Vader overpowered him, cutting Shrine down in the midst of Kashyyyk's burning forests, but not before revealing that Palpatine was the Sith Lord that the Jedi had been searching for, and that he had once been Anakin Skywalker. While Vader was furious that some Jedi had escaped, another Jedi Master had been purged, and the dark side's grip on the galaxy tightened. Despite Vader's efforts, Jedi survivors continued to gather in secret. One such group met in a hidden conclave on Kessel, hoping to discuss a plan to fight back against the Sith. However, this was no ordinary gathering. It was a carefully laid trap designed to lure Vader in. The Jedi, desperate for a chance to rid the galaxy of the Sith Lord, spread false information that Obi-Wan Kenobi would attend the meeting, knowing that Vader was obsessed with finding the Jedi Master. The deception worked. Vader arrived with a contingent of stormtroopers, but he quickly realized that something was off. Kenobi was nowhere to be found. Before he could process the trick, the Jedi launched their ambush, springing from the shadows in a coordinated attack, hoping to overwhelm him. Although Vader was eventually wounded, they had gravely underestimated him. Vader fought with terrifying precision, cutting through their ranks with brutal efficiency. His lightsaber tore through flesh and armor alike, and with every strike, another Jedi fell. The survivors fought with desperation, knowing that if they failed, there would be no second chance, but their numbers meant nothing against Vader. By the time the battle was over, the bodies of the fallen surrounded Vader, and their resistance had been extinguished. The trap had failed, and the last remnants of their rebellion had perished at his hand. With the Jedi eliminated, Vader remained on Kessel only long enough to confirm that Kenobi had never been there. The realization that he had been deceived fueled his rage, and though the battle had been won, his search for Obi-Wan continued, his obsession growing stronger with each passing year. With every mission, Vader's power grew. He was no longer Anakin Skywalker. He was the Emperor's executioner, the shadow that haunted every remaining Jedi in the galaxy. Vader's reign of terror stretched across the galaxy, but even as he carried out the Emperor's will with ruthless efficiency, the shadows of his past never fully left him. Though he had renounced Anakin Skywalker, the memories of his former life still crept into his mind, haunting him in moments of solitude. When he was not engaged in battle or crushing resistance, his thoughts drifted to the past, to the life he had abandoned and the people he had lost. Despite his efforts to bury his humanity, his dreams told him otherwise. His nights were filled with visions of Padme Amidala, the love he had lost. In his dreams, he saw alternate versions of his fate, worlds where he had chosen differently, where Padme had survived, and where they had raised their children together. But these visions only fueled his anger, reminding him of the weakness that had once defined him. The dark side demanded total commitment, and Vader knew that sentimentality had no place in the path of the Sith. Still, no matter how much he tried to suppress them, the dreams continued, gnawing at the edges of his mind. His growing power in the dark side came at a cost. His mechanical body, designed to keep him alive after Mustafar, was both a gift and a curse. The armor enhanced his strength but dulled his agility, forcing him to compensate for the limitations it imposed. The constant pain, the burning sensation where flesh met metal, was a reminder of what he had lost. The suit's respirator functioned as an ever-present chain, its rhythmic breathing a mockery of his old self. He despised his reliance on it, but he had no choice. It was the price of survival. Palpatine was not blind to Vader's struggles. The Emperor saw his apprentice's obsession with Obi-Wan Kenobi, his lingering humanity, and the flickering conflict that still remained within him. Though he had forged Vader through suffering, he would not tolerate weakness. To test his apprentice's loyalty, Palpatine deliberately kept Vader at arm's length, withholding knowledge and denying him access to certain Sith teachings. This frustrated Vader, who yearned for greater power, but he dared not openly challenge his master. Not yet. He understood that the Sith operated by the rule of two, and as long as he remained the apprentice, he was vulnerable. Vader's connection to the dark side was deep, but his emotions remained a volatile mix of rage, pain, and ambition. He had achieved everything he thought he wanted, yet deep inside, something remained unsettled. He was feared, but never truly respected. He was powerful, but never truly free. As he continued to serve the Emperor, executing his will without question, a part of him began to wonder, was this truly the destiny he had sacrificed everything for? Thus, even as he served the Emperor, Vader's hunger for power remained insatiable. He knew that his master was withholding knowledge from him, keeping him in a position of servitude rather than preparing him to truly rule. If Vader was to surpass Palpatine, he would need more than his own strength. He would need ancient Sith knowledge. This led him to seek out the Myrrh Talisman, an artifact of immense power created by the ancient Sith Lord Karness Myrrh. The talisman was said to grant its wielder the ability to control legions of Rakghoul creatures and could potentially amplify a Sith's strength beyond imagination. Vader's pursuit of the talisman led him to a confrontation with Celeste Morn, a Jedi from the Old Republic era who had been preserved for millennia through the talisman's dark influence. She had fought against the Sith during the Mandalorian Wars, but had become a prisoner of the relic's power. When Vader finally confronted her, the battle was unlike anything he had faced before. Celeste wielded the talisman's power against him, summoning Rakghouls to overwhelm him. Despite his strength, Vader quickly realized that he had underestimated the artifact's corrupting nature. As the fight raged on, Celeste refused to let him claim the talisman, understanding the catastrophic consequences of its power falling into the hands of a Sith. Vader was ultimately forced to retreat, knowing that he could not yet control the talisman without risking his own corruption. The battle left him frustrated, but it also reinforced his belief that the Sith's true strength lay in securing an apprentice, one who could help him challenge Palpatine. He needed a warrior who would be completely loyal, powerful, and devoted to his cause. This pursuit led him to one of the most significant and most dangerous decisions of his life: the secret training of Galen Marek, a Force-sensitive child who would come to be known as Starkiller. Vader knew that he would never truly be Palpatine's equal as long as his master lived. If he was ever to claim the full power of the Sith, he would need an apprentice of his own, someone strong enough to help him challenge the Emperor. This was the path of all Sith, and Vader had every intention of following it. Vader tracked a Jedi survivor named Canto Merrick to the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk. Their duel was brief, ending with Canto's death, but just as Vader was about to deliver the killing blow, the young Galen Merrick ripped Vader's weapon from his grasp with the Force, an instinctive act of raw power that shocked even the Dark Lord himself. This child was something special, something powerful. Vader made a decision that would alter the future. He killed his stormtroopers on sight and took the boy as his own. The Emperor could never know. For years, Vader trained Starkiller in the dark arts of the Sith, forging him into a weapon that could one day help him overthrow Palpatine. The boy was raised in isolation, hidden away from the Empire, known only to Vader and his personal droid Proxy, who would serve as both a teacher and a combat simulator. Starkiller was pushed beyond his limits, enduring brutal training that honed his raw abilities into lethal precision. He was taught to be a predator, a hunter of Jedi, trained to be stronger than those who had come before him. Vader made it clear that his apprentice would serve a grand purpose. Together, they would one day kill the Emperor and rule the galaxy as master and apprentice. But Starkiller's first true test came when Vader finally sent him on a mission to hunt surviving Jedi. His targets were formidable: Ram Koda, a veteran general of the Clone Wars; Kazdan Paratus, a Jedi who had built a fortress of madness in his exile; and Shaak Ti, one of the last remaining members of the Jedi Council. Each battle tested him in new ways. But one by one, Starkiller defeated them all, proving himself as a true Sith apprentice. For a time, Vader appeared to keep his promise, but Palpatine, as he always did, had foreseen the betrayal. He ordered Vader to kill his apprentice, and without hesitation, Vader turned on Starkiller, stabbing him and casting his body out into space. However, that was not the end. In secret, Vader recovered his apprentice's broken body and revived him in a secret medical facility. Starkiller had served his purpose, but his true mission was about to begin. The Emperor believed him to be dead, which made him the perfect tool for a grand deception. Vader fed him a new purpose: to gather the scattered enemies of the Empire, the dissidents, the warriors, the remnants of the Republic, and unite them against Palpatine. Starkiller, believing he was fulfilling Vader's grand design, set out to build what would unknowingly become the foundation of the Rebel Alliance. But Vader's deception ran deeper than Starkiller could ever have imagined. Just when it seemed that their plans were coming to fruition, Vader revealed his true allegiance. He betrayed Starkiller again, capturing the leaders of the nascent rebellion and delivering them to the Emperor. But Starkiller had changed. He was no longer just Vader's assassin. He had found something beyond the Sith, a cause greater than himself. In a final act of defiance, he led a desperate mission to rescue the rebel leaders, storming the newly constructed Death Star and battling Vader one last time. Their duel was ferocious, a confrontation of master and apprentice, where Starkiller finally broke free of Vader's control. He turned his fury against the Emperor, allowing his friends to escape while he gave his life in a final explosive blast of power. In the end, Starkiller's death was not in vain. His actions directly led to the formation of the Rebel Alliance, a force that would one day bring the Empire to its knees. And for Vader, it was a bitter reminder of something he had tried to bury long ago. Starkiller had been more than just a tool, he had been a shadow of something that had once lived inside Vader himself. But that shadow had been erased, and all that remained was the Sith Lord, as cold and merciless as ever. However, Vader was not yet finished with his experiment. His fascination with Starkiller's potential did not end with his death. Vader sought to create a perfected version of his fallen apprentice, one that would remain loyal without question. Thus began one of the darkest and most ambitious projects of his life, the cloning of Starkiller. On the remote world of Kamino, Vader oversaw a secret initiative to create a clone of Galen Marek, using preserved genetic material from his original apprentice. Cloning a Force-sensitive being was an endeavor fraught with failure. The Kaminoan scientists struggled to create a stable subject, as each one inherited Starkiller's powerful connection to the Force, but also his fractured memories and emotions. Time and time again, the clones descended into madness, plagued by visions of a life they had never lived. Many were discarded as failures, some even turning against Vader, forcing him to destroy them with his own hands. But after many attempts, a singular clone emerged, one that appeared stronger and more stable than the rest. This Starkiller clone retained fragments of the original's past life, including his connection to Juno Eclipse, the woman that Galen Marek had loved. Though Vader tried to shape him into the perfect Sith assassin, the clone's memories of Juno and his past identity could not be erased. He rebelled against his programming, escaping from Kamino and embarking on a journey of self-discovery. He was driven by a singular goal, finding Juno Eclipse, believing that she held the key to his true identity. Vader, however, was prepared for this. He allowed the clone to escape, knowing that his emotional attachments made him predictable. He pursued the clone across the galaxy, manipulating him at every turn, using Juno as bait to lure him back into a confrontation. When the clone finally faced Vader once more, the battle was intense. The clone had grown immensely powerful, and for the first time, Vader was forced to acknowledge that this version of Starkiller was unlike the others. Despite his best efforts to reassert control, the clone bested him, defeating Vader in combat. But rather than delivering the killing blow, the clone chose to spare him, refusing to fully fall to the dark side. The fate of the clone remained shrouded in mystery, as history would erase him from Imperial records. But the legacy of Starkiller, both the original and his clone, would have far-reaching consequences. He was more than just a secret apprentice. He was a symbol of what could have been, a reflection of the Sith's greatest failure and the Jedi's greatest loss. And though Vader continued to serve his master, the echoes of Starkiller's defiance never truly faded. It was a reminder that even the most powerful Sith could never fully control destiny. He was the one who nearly changed everything, the one that nearly made Vader turn away from his master. And though his name could be erased from Imperial records, the spark he ignited would one day lead to the greatest challenge the Empire would ever face. Vader's dominance in the Empire was nearly absolute, but the fear he commanded extended beyond the battlefield. As time passed, he became the embodiment of terror, a shadow that loomed over the entire Imperial military. Officers spoke his name in hushed whispers, fearing his wrath more than any enemy of the Empire. Many who served under him learned quickly that failure was not tolerated. Those who disappointed him met a swift and merciless end. During this time, Vader took part in numerous operations that further cemented his legacy. On Coruscant, he stood alongside Emperor Palpatine at the Imperial Academy graduation ceremony, watching the next generation of soldiers prepare for service. However, this event was soon followed by an insurrection led by the Academy's own headmaster, Gentis. The uprising was a bold attempt to overthrow the Emperor, but it was doomed from the start. Vader crushed the rebellion with ruthless efficiency, executing the traitorous cadets and their leader, ensuring that no similar treachery would ever take root again. As the Rebel Alliance began to grow, the Emperor sent Vader on various missions to eliminate any threat before it could fully form. One such mission led him to Kafrinkan 5, where he confronted Jedi Master Anya Kuro, known as the Dark Woman. Mara Jade, the Emperor's hand, had discovered her location, and though she wished to be the one to kill the Jedi, Palpatine assigned the task to Vader. He tracked her down, and after a brief exchange on the nature of the Force, they engaged in a deadly duel. Vader emerged victorious, cutting her down with his Crimson Blade. However, in death, she immediately reappeared as a Force ghost, proving that the light side was greater than the dark. She told Vader that he still had the power to turn back, that he could be free, but he struck at the ghost in fury, refusing to acknowledge any possibility of redemption. After this battle, the Emperor declared that the Great Jedi Purge was officially over, believing that the remaining Jedi were too insignificant to be worth the Empire's resources. With each passing year, Vader grew stronger, but his suspicions of the Emperor deepened. He knew that Palpatine would eventually seek to replace him, and he saw evidence of this in his master's growing interest in other Force-sensitive individuals. Despite his loyalty, Vader understood the nature of the Sith. Sooner or later, one of them would betray the other. He had no way of knowing that the moment of reckoning was closer than he thought. As the construction of the Death Star neared completion, Vader's focus shifted. The Rebel Alliance was growing stronger, and soon they would be a true threat to the Empire's rule. He had spent nearly 2 decades crushing opposition and ruling through fear, but the battle ahead would be different. He had no way of knowing that the next chapter of his life was about to begin, one that would bring him face to face with the son he never knew had survived. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did, and as always, may the Force be with you.